Today is not an ordinary day, and if you're listening to this right now, it's not by chance. December 21st, the Winter Solstice. The quiet turning point most people sleep through, while everything underneath reality resets. And before I say anything else, you need to understand this clearly. The energy today is not aggressive, it's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's subtle. And that's why so many people miss it. This is the kind of day where one unconscious choice can quietly undo weeks or even months of progress without you realizing why things suddenly feel stalled afterward. And there is one specific mistake people make today. A mistake that blocks manifestation, drains clarity, and disconnects you from the momentum that's trying to move you forward. Most people will never know they made it, but you're here now, so listen carefully. The winter solstice marks the longest night of the year, the deepest stillness, the pause between what has been and what is about to grow. This is not a time of force. This is not a time of pushing. This is not a time of proving. And yet, that's exactly what many people try to do today. They try to override the stillness. They distract themselves. They fill the silence. They rush decisions. They scroll endlessly. They stay busy so they don't have to feel what's surfacing. And that is the mistake. Because today is not asking you to act louder. It's asking you to listen deeper. The winter solstice energy works like a mirror. It doesn't give you what you want. It reveals what you're misaligned with. And when people ignore that, when they override their intuition today, they unknowingly send a signal that says, "I'm not ready to receive clarity." That's when manifestation slows. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because you're drowning out the guidance meant to redirect you. If you've felt unusually tired today, if your motivation feels muted, if your thoughts feel heavy or reflective, that is not a problem. That is alignment trying to happen. But here's where people go wrong. They interpret stillness as stagnation. They interpret rest as failure. They interpret silence as something being wrong. So they force themselves back into old patterns. And the solstice does not respond well to force. This is a threshold day, a recalibration day, a moment where intention matters more than action. What you avoid today determines how the next phase unfolds. And the biggest mistake is resisting the emotional signals coming up. Today, unresolved thoughts surface, old attachments whisper, lingering doubts make one last appearance, not to pull you backward, but to be acknowledged and released. If you suppress them, if you judge yourself for feeling them, if you distract yourself instead of observing them, you carry them forward. That's how manifestation blocks happen. Not because you didn't think positive enough, but because you refused to let something finish dissolving. The solstice is generous, but only to those who allow endings. And here's something few people say out loud. Not everything that leaves during this time leaves gently. Some things detach through boredom, some through emotional exhaustion, some through a sudden lack of interest. And that doesn't mean you're losing something important. It means you're no longer meant to carry it into the next cycle. If you feel disconnected today, if things that once mattered feel strangely empty, do not panic. That emptiness is space being cleared. But the moment you try to fill that space too quickly, with noise, validation, distractions, or rushed decisions, you block what was meant to enter. This is why awareness today is everything. The solstice does not reward urgency, it rewards honesty. And honesty today might sound like this: I don't know what's next yet. I need rest. I'm letting go without needing to understand everything. I trust the pause. That frequency opens doors you can't force open. Another mistake people make today is revisiting old conflicts, especially emotionally charged ones. Rehashing arguments, mentally replaying conversations, reopening wounds that were already closing. The solstice amplifies what you focus on. If you feed the past today, you strengthen its grip. If you observe it without engaging, it dissolves faster than you expect. You don't need closure today. You need detachment. There's a difference. Closure seeks explanation. Detachment allows release without answers. And manifestation accelerates when you stop demanding clarity before trust. The people who feel the biggest shifts after December 21st are not the ones who did rituals, affirmations, or vision boards all day. They're the ones who honored stillness. They allowed themselves to feel without reacting. They listened instead of forcing. They let the old year energetically close, even if the calendar hasn't yet, because energetically, this is the true ending. Everything after today grows. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. So if something feels like it's fading, let it. If something feels uncertain, sit with it. If something no longer excites you, don't chase it back. The mistake is thinking you need to do something today. You don't. You need to not interfere. The solstice works quietly, behind the scenes, reorganizing your inner world so your outer world can change later. And yes, manifestation is happening. Just not the loud, flashy kind people expect. It's the kind that removes obstacles before giving rewards. And removal always feels uncomfortable before it feels free. If you made it this far into this message, pause for a moment, ask yourself, without judgment, what am I being asked to release right now? You don't need to answer out loud. You don't need to force clarity. Just notice what comes up. That awareness alone realigns you, and that is how you avoid the mistake most people make today. Stay present. Stay honest. Stay still enough to hear what's shifting. Because once this solstice window closes, momentum returns quickly. And what you allow today determines what moves effortlessly toward you next. If this message resonated, you already felt it. You didn't find this by accident. Let the stillness work. And there's something else happening today that most people don't notice until it's already passed. The winter solstice doesn't just close cycles. It quietly rewrites identity. That's why today can feel strange, almost disorienting. You might notice that the version of yourself you were operating as just days ago suddenly feels distant, like you're watching your old habits from the outside, like certain reactions don't come automatically anymore. That's not confusion, that's detachment beginning. And here's another mistake people make today. They try to fix that feeling. They try to return to who they were. They try to reclaim motivation the same way. They try to push themselves back into familiar identities because the unknown feels uncomfortable. But the solstice is not removing your direction. It's removing the identity that no longer matches where you're going. Today, the nervous system recalibrates. Old survival responses loosen. Patterns that once felt necessary begin to feel heavy. That's why forcing productivity today feels draining. That's why social interaction can feel overwhelming. That's why silence feels louder than usual. You're not regressing, you're shedding. And shedding doesn't come with instructions. It comes with trust. Another subtle trap today is overthinking meaning. People ask, what does this mean? What am I supposed to do? What's coming next? But the solstice doesn't answer questions immediately. It stabilizes you first. Clarity comes after the nervous system settles. If you demand answers today, you strain the process. The mind wants certainty. The solstice wants surrender. And surrender is uncomfortable for a mind trained to control outcomes. That's why distraction is tempting today. Endless scrolling, background noise, filling every quiet moment. Because silence reveals truth faster than we expect. And truth doesn't always arrive gently. Sometimes it arrives as a sudden realization that something you've been chasing no longer matters. Sometimes it arrives as grief for a version of yourself you've outgrown. Sometimes it arrives as relief you didn't know you were allowed to feel, and that relief can feel scary. Because when something heavy lifts, the question becomes, who am I without it? That's the identity shift happening now, and the mistake is trying to define yourself too quickly after it. Let the space exist. Emptiness today is not absence, it's preparation. The solstice is the womb phase of transformation. Nothing blooms here. Everything reorganizes. That's why manifestation today isn't about asking. It's about alignment. Whatever you emotionally attach to today becomes heavier tomorrow. Whatever you gently release today becomes lighter almost immediately. Notice your reactions. Notice what triggers irritation. Notice what feels forced. Notice what no longer excites you. Those are exit signals. And resisting exit signals delays progress. You don't need to burn bridges. You don't need dramatic endings. Just quiet withdrawal of energy. That's enough. Another thing people underestimate today is how sensitive intentions are. Thoughts spoken casually today carry weight. Complaints linger longer. Self-criticism cuts deeper. Doubt embeds faster. That's why awareness matters. Not perfection, awareness. If a negative thought arises, don't fight it. Witness it. Let it pass without feeding it. The solstice is listening more than it's responding, and what you repeatedly feed today gets echoed in the weeks ahead. This isn't superstition, it's psychological alignment. When you consciously pause during transitional moments, your brain resets default patterns. This is neuroscience meeting symbolism. And when both align, change sticks. As the hours pass today, you may feel waves. Moments of clarity followed by heaviness. Moments of peace followed by restlessness. That's normal. Integration isn't linear. And the final mistake, one that quietly blocks everything, is judging yourself for how today feels. There is no correct way to experience the solstice. Some feel emotional, some feel numb, some feel inspired, some feel tired. All are valid. Judgment creates resistance. Acceptance creates flow. And flow is what manifestation actually responds to. Not excitement, not effort, not obsession. Flow. By the time this solstice window closes, something inside you will have shifted, whether you label it or not. The people who benefit most won't announce it. They won't post about it. They won't even fully understand it yet. They'll just notice that after today, decisions feel cleaner, distractions lose power, old fears don't hook as deeply, and opportunities align without force. That's the quiet gift of this day. So as you move through the rest of December 21st, remember, you're not meant to rush. You're not meant to resolve everything. You're not meant to know what's next yet. You're meant to let the old cycle finish closing. And if you allow that, the next one opens with less resistance than you imagined. If this message stayed with you longer than expected, if something in it felt familiar, that's not coincidence. It means you're already moving with the shift. Let it complete. and let the light return in its own time.